It's time for the Korn Ferry Tour Finals. With 4 events to go in the season, the road to French Lick is almost done. Hello, welcome once again to the Road to French Lick, a show chronicling the 2024 Korn Ferry Tour season, which culminates in the Korn Ferry Tour Championship, presented by United Leasing and Finance, played for the next 5 years on the Pete Dye course at French Lick Resort in French Lick, Indiana. I'm Ryan Ballingy. Thanks for being here for our 8th episode. We are getting into the backstretch of the season. We are through the regular season on the Korn Ferry Tour schedule, and now we face the biggest events of the season, the Korn Ferry Tour Finals. We'll talk you through what the Korn Ferry Tour Finals are, the playoff format, and how the 30 players who will earn PGA Tour cards for next season will decide that fate over the next 4 tournaments. But in the meantime, we have 3 tournaments to tell you about since our last show, including the Utah Championship, the Pinnacle Bank Championship, and the Magnet Championship, which just wrapped up the regular season on the Korn Ferry Tour. Our first tournament in that stretch is the Utah Championship, played at Oak Ridge Country Club in Farmington, Utah. Carl Phillips, the Australian, was the winner of that tournament. He won on 25 under, 259, winning by 2 shots over Joe Weiler and Matt McCarty, who winds up earning a PGA Tour card for next season that is guaranteed regardless of what happens in the Korn Ferry Tour Finals. He will be on the PGA Tour in 2025. We followed that up with the Pinnacle Bank Championship at the club at Indian Creek in Omaha, Nebraska. Matt McCarty won that event at 14 under, 270. He beat Danny Walker by a shot, as well as TJ Vogel and Brandon Crick, who finished in ties for 3rd place at 12 under total. Again, McCarty has a PGA Tour card locked up for 2025. And then the regular season wrapped up at the Magnet Championship at the Matineconk National Golf Club in Jackson Township in New Jersey. Max McGreevy won that tournament to once again pick up a trophy on the Korn Ferry Tour. 18 under total, 270 was the winning number. He won by 3 shots over Tim Veeding, who won twice this season on the Korn Ferry Tour and already has a card locked up for next year on the PGA Tour, along with Ricky Castillo, Will Chandler, and Frankie Sappin III, who now puts himself in a great position to nab one of the 30 PGA Tour cards available next season through the end of the Korn Ferry Tour season. Now let's hear from the winner of the Pinnacle Bank Championship, Matt McCarty, and the winner of the Magnet Championship, Max McGreevy.
I think it's like more of an expectation though. It's like it's nice to just kind of play golf how I want to play golf and like kind of how I expect I can. It's not really like surprising to me, but it is nice just to like keep putting myself in this position. I think this is our 5th week in a row in the last group on Sunday, or second to last group. So just to kind of keep being there and like kind of just having opportunities. I mean, that's kind of what today was too.
Yeah, the golf cart.
But it's a lot of fun, and that's like why we play is, obviously my main goal at the beginning of the year was to get on tour, then kind of had to like readjust the last 3 weeks of that one spot's really important out here, and especially getting into like, the US Open, the players, and kind of be able to set your schedule. So kind of refocus towards that, but honestly, yeah, I mean, I'm just glad I'm just kind of keeping my head down and just keep doing the same stuff and keep playing.
We got
Yeah, won 2 times now, and I've gone to number 2 both times that I've won, so it's even more motivating to be one back on that list type of thing, and going to push me forward next week and into the playoffs. And playoffs are just fun, it's elevated. There's just more for grabs, and excited for these next 4 tournaments that are coming up, and going to give it everything I got to go take that number 1 spot.
With the regular season now complete on the Korn Ferry Tour schedule, we take a look at the top 5 in the point standings. All 5 of these players have guaranteed themselves a 2025 PGA Tour card. No matter what happens throughout the Korn Ferry Tour Finals, they will have status next year on the PGA Tour. Topping our list at the end of the regular season is Matt McCarty, who has 1,967 points. Second on our list is Max McGreevy at 1,873 points. Tim Veeding, with 2 wins on the season, has 1,680 points. Stephen Fisk is 4th on the list with 1,574 points. And Taylor Dixon rounds out that top 5 at 1,345 points. In addition to those top 5 players on the Korn Ferry Tour points list, we have another 5 players who have guaranteed PGA Tour cards for next season. No matter what happens in the Korn Ferry Tour finals, they will be on the PGA Tour in 2025 in some fashion. Those 5 players include number 6, Harry Higgs, who won twice this season, Cristobal del Solar, who is 7th on the list, Quade Cummins, who is 8th heading into the Albertsons Boise Open, Brian Campbell, who's 9th, and Kevin Velo, who is 10th. All of those players have guaranteed status next year, but they must compete in the final 4 events of the season to see where they wind up in the points list, which gets them their particular order of entry into tournaments from the Korn Ferry Tour Finals Graduates list for next season. Our guest this week on the road to French Lick is Chris Baker. We caught up with him earlier this season, and he is 98th on the Korn Ferry Tour points list, so comfortably in the first 3 tournaments in the Korn Ferry Tour Finals. However, he's looking up at the top 75 and trying to get into the Korn Ferry Tour Championship to secure his status on the Korn Ferry Tour for next year, or with several solid weeks in these finals, a PGA Tour card for next year. Let's hear from Chris Baker.
Chris Baker, the longtime Hoosier, born and bred Brownstown, Iowa State Cyclone. Tell us about your journey, man, and how you doing out here?
Yeah, journey's been started in 2008, graduated in 2008 from Iowa State, and been going at it since. I've been on this tour since 2011. Played 2 years on the PGA Tour, and just back here trying to make it back to the PGA Tour. And yeah, end of the year we'll be in French Lake, and hopefully I can gather that top 30 card. Yeah.
What's it like chasing the dream, getting there and just grinding out?
It's a unique. I mean, it's a job, but it's a job playing golf and a game I love. So it's very cool, and it's a great experience and great learning. It's taken me a lot of places and met a lot of great people. And it's just been an enjoyable career. I guess this is my 16th year playing golf professionally. So kind of crazy that it's been that long, but I've learned a lot, seen a lot of places. Ready to play some good golf and get back.
Where'd you growing up in Brownstown? Where'd you play?
Played at Hickory Hills, right on Hickory Hills golf course, and then played Shadowwood and Seymour Elms, which is one of the so my 2 home courses in Brownstown are Seymour Elms, Shadowwood, and
Who was your mentor back then?
Mentor, gosh, I mean, so I took lessons from Todd DeHaven. So Todd now works for the Indiana Golf Foundation. Took lessons from him at the Elks, and John Olson was the pro at Hickory Hills, worked with him, and then actually the guy I'm staying with this week, Brad Morrow, was at Shadowwood. So those 3 pros have had a big influence on my growing up and where I am now for sure. So
how'd you pick Iowa State?
Just the recruiting process. Just at the time it was a good fit, and it was a great spot for me for 4 years. Really enjoyed my career there, and was just fortunate to be on a Big 12 college golf team and play some great golf courses and be with some great teammates. It was just a great 4 years for me.
What do you think the reaction of the players here when they show up to French Lick, and what do you think they're going to think? Oh my gosh, or what?
Yeah, no, I mean, I think when you get up to Pete Dye course at French Lick, I don't think they don't know what Indiana looks like. So I think when they get to the top of the hill, they'll just be blown away with the beauty and just the sheer, like, it's over the top, like, you're on top of a hill, and it just the scenery is amazing. 360-degree view rotation. I mean, it's really cool. I mean, I'm from Southern Indiana, and I still can't believe what it looks like up there every time I go. So it's gonna be a great week, and it's gonna be a great week to finish the season and hand out some PGA Tour cards, and it'll be looking forward to it.
Appreciate your time.
Yeah, thanks a lot. Appreciate it.
With the regular season now complete, the Korn Ferry Tour schedule moves to the Korn Ferry Tour Finals. Let's give you an explanation of how the Korn Ferry Tour Finals works. It's a 4-event series played beginning at the end of August with the Albertsons Boise Open in Idaho and continuing through the next 3 events to conclude the season with the Korn Ferry Tour Championship presented by United Leasing and Finance on the Pete Dye course at French Lake Resort in French Lick, Indiana. The playoffs all feature events with $1.5 million purses, which is a $500,000 increase over the regular season, and they offer 600 Korn Ferry Tour points to the winner, which is a 20% increase over the regular season. Each of these events have cutoffs to qualify for them based on your standing in the Korn Ferry Tour points list. So, to get in the first leg of the Albertsons Boise Open, a player had to be within the top 156 players on the points list. And although not all 156 players are competing this week, that is the cutoff to get in. Unlike in prior years, where it was the top 156 eligible and available players to compete in that first leg and in subsequent legs in the Korn Ferry Tour finals. The second stage happens after a 2-week break. That is the Simmons Bank Open in Franklin, Tennessee, just outside of Nashville. That is reserved for the top 144 players in the point standings at the end of the Albertsons Boise Open. The following week is the third leg of the playoffs for the top 120 players, the Nationwide Children's Hospital Championship, played on the Scarlet Course at The Ohio State University in Columbus, Ohio. And then after that tournament is the biggest cut of the Korn Ferry Tour Finals, where the top 75 players after that event in Ohio move on to the season-ending Korn Ferry Tour Championship after a 1-week break. So, getting to that top 75 is a tremendous accomplishment for a season. It guarantees you status on the Korn Ferry Tour for next season, even if you don't earn a PGA Tour card at the end of that tournament. The top 30 players in the Korn Ferry Tour standings after the end of the Korn Ferry Tour Championship earn 2025 PGA Tour cards. The number one player in the point standings at the end of the season earns fully exempt status for next year, gets into every regular event on the PGA Tour schedule in 2025, and it gets them an entry into the Players' Championship for 2025, which is the largest single tournament purse on the PGA Tour schedule. So there is a lot to play for those 4 events, not only for Korn Ferry Tour status if you don't get a PGA Tour card, but also for a PGA Tour card, as based on your finish in the point standings determines your order in priority order onto the PGA Tour, which has a big role in determining how many and how often you get into events on the PGA Tour schedule, particularly in the early stages of the season. You'll be subject to what's known as the reshuffle, which means based on how many points, FedEx Cup points you earn during a stretch of the season, you may have a better opportunity to get into certain events, more desirable events, higher purse events on the schedule based on how you did in a prior string of events. So there is a lot to think about and a lot to play for through the Korn Ferry Tour Finals. Brendan Sweeney joins me as we get ready for the Korn Ferry Tour Finals. Brendan, we got a 4-event series that kicks off this week in Idaho with the Albertsons Boise Open. Then we work our way through with events of 156 players, although there's fewer than that this week, 144 in the field next week. Then we've got a third event, 120 players, and we narrowed that down to 75 for the Korn Ferry Tour Championship at your place, French Lick, in French Lick, Indiana. What are you thinking about through the season so far? Now we have 10 players who definitely have cards next year, but a lot still to fight for in these playoffs.
Tell you what, Ryan, thanks for having me on, buddy. Good to see you. I tell you what, it's getting to the point now where the rubber's hitting the road. I mean,
yeah,
numbers come to play. You know, as you said before, you know, right now 156 is a number. Next week it drops down 12 spots to 144 people in Nashville, and then 120 people go to the Nationwide in Columbus, Ohio, and then the cut from there is 75 that takes people to French Lick, Indiana. So, you know, the United Leasing and Finance Championships at French Lick, all 75 of the players will be competing for the top, 30 spots to get their cards. 10 guys already have, their past, their ticket punch to play in the PGA Tour. So there's going to be, 20 spots that guys are going for. And with the points being with the way they are, they increased to 600 points for these last 4 championships. Money's there as well. You look at someone like Joe Wheeler, who is a homer. He's from Bloomington, Indiana, went to Purdue, so we're pulling for him. But within the last, month, his point total, he went from like 84th to 34th by having 2 top 10s. So the points are adding up, and the guys are really getting to it. And you look at some of the players out there that this means a lot. Someone like Rob Oppenheim, who's 59th, he's fighting for a card. He's a journeyman. He's 44 years old. If he plays well, if he makes the top 30, he gets on the PGA Tour. Then he's eligible for the PGA Tour pension. But he's at 59th right now. So he could go either way based upon his play. So there's a lot of guys going on out there, and there's a lot of I'm sure nerves are getting tighter. And the people who have prepared, and if you look at the next 3 tournaments, Albertsons, the Connecticut, Nationwide, they all have cuts once you make it to the United Leasing and Finance Championship at French Lick, there's no cut there. So they're all competing hard. And if you make a cut, you get the points. You get the points. You move up the list. You move up the list. You make it to the next tournament. So this could be pretty interesting.
Yeah, and the setup is really interesting too. I mean, I know that the cutoff now for the FedEx Cup playoffs is much harsher, 70 to get in, 50-30, and they all have big milestones attached to them. Korn Ferry Tour Finals is a little bit different, where you just got to get in the dance. And there's going to be a little bit of a cut this week. There aren't 156 players competing in this week's event in Idaho, so it's like 147 now down to 145. So pretty much everyone who plays this week's going to get through, assuming that if they earn some points, if they can make the cut. But that then leads to another tournament where you're going to drop, 24 more players. So you just kind of have to hang around. And all you need really is one good week to get you to French Lick for the Korn Ferry Tour Championship.
Yeah. I said Joe Wheeler before, he had a top 2. He finished second. Yeah. That was 245 points. And if you're looking at the points, from nine spot to the 11th spot, there's a 69 point differential there. And then from 72 to 77, Cole Hammer's at 72 right now. TJ Vogel's at 77. There's, 30-point difference between 2 spots or 5 spots. So these guys are running and gunning. If you're playing hot and all of a sudden you catch a birdie streak, you're golden. But if you hit the skids and pull a double coming on 18, I mean, you see it every year, and it's predictable. And you just got to wait. It's like watching a NASCAR race. Who's going to hit the wall and how's it going to happen? So it's exciting. We're excited for it. We're 45 days out from a championship. So we're getting really excited about it in French Lick. So
it's going to be awesome once we get out there. The week of, we're going to do live shows on Golf Newsnet TV. The week of the Korn Ferry Tour Championship, we're going to have a great time. We're very much looking forward to that. Want to spend a couple seconds saying a shout out to Jackson Buchanan, who had a tremendous run in the AM at Hazeltine National over the weekend. A great run in the championship that turned out to be quite unpredictable. And we wound up having the first Spanish U.S. AM winner in the history of the event, which goes back, 130 years. Pretty incredible.
Yeah, Jackson, he's a great kid. We interviewed him a couple of weeks ago when he was up at Springfield, Illinois. Yep. He was a sponsor exemption there. He played well. But he got on a run, man. He took down the number 1 kid in the top U.S. amateur, which no one was expecting. And then he mowed through and he made it to the final 4. And it was Noah Kent, who wound up coming in second from the University of Iowa. So he had two kids from the Big Ten hacking it out. That was pretty exciting. So shout out to Jackson. Another shout out going out there, Sam Saunders. He's hanging it up after 15 years out there. What a great dude. He really is. He had some big shoes to fill out there, big name to live up to, with Arnold Palmer being his grandfather. He's just a superhuman being. Wish him the best of luck with what he does with the Bay Hill tournament and the Arnold Palmer Hospital for Children here in Orlando is just mind-blowing. He truly is going to a higher calling. He tried and he did well. He's a great ambassador for golf, but I believe his passion is with the Bay Hill tournament, the Arnold Palmer Invitational. So best of luck to Sam. It's great watching him, man.
Yeah, he carried on a legacy that is pretty hard to live up to, and did it in his own way, is going to continue to do it in his own way. And I don't care whether you've ever made it to the PGA Tour or not. You can still have an incredible life living what he's going to bring to the table from here on out. But that he did that, was a tremendous player and lasted a long time. And I think that we lose sight of how hard it is to get to even the level that he got, and even the bigger mountain to climb to be the number 1 player in the world, be a top 10 player in the world. What Sam Saunders accomplished is still a 1 in a million, and that's being generous, kind of thing for people. So kudos to him for lasting the way that he did and for carrying himself the way that he has in the world of professional golf, being someone that's been universally loved, it feels like.
Yeah, amen to that. Another shout out going out there. We have our website is open. If you guys go to Golf Gives Back, that is the charitable arm of the United Leasing Finance Championships at French Lick. Our live auction started this week. We got some great items out there. So if you guys have some time, just click on over to Golf Gives Back and sign up for the registration. Looking forward to a great week of golf with the Albertsons. Golf Channel's picking it up Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. You can tune in and watch the future stars of tomorrow compete for the big prize of going to the show.
This is my favorite time of year. This is what it all builds up to. This is when lives change for the better and some for the worse. But this is a momentous time of year, and it's really, really cool to get to watch that happen for so many people. So, Brendan, thanks so much for spending some time with me once again. Look forward to seeing you in a few weeks out in French Lick, Indiana. Now, as we do each week here on the road to French Lick, we take a look at 2 holes on the Pete Dye course at French Lick Resort in French Lick, Indiana, home to the Korn Ferry Tour Championship presented by United Leasing and Finance. This week, we look at the 15th hole, a challenging driving hole with a infinity green that can be very difficult to navigate, and the par 3 16th, which played from the tips, can measure 300 yards over water. Here's Will Haskett with more.
The 15th hole is a great short par 4, and if you look back from the tee, the French Lick Resort is clearly visible, as is the rest of the town of French Lick. Right center tee shot is the play here, and then an approach that favors the right half of the green is a little less risky, with the water feature intimidating but maybe not in play for many down the left-hand side. The 16th hole is the beginning of a great series of finishing holes. This hole can actually tip out at 302 yards with the prevailing south wind blowing from left to right towards the boulder-lined lake. Keep that in mind, as balls can typically be pushed towards that water, but it's a beautiful hole with tons of challenge even for the regular tees.
That's going to do it for us this week on the road to French Lick. Thank you so much for watching. We have 10 PGA Tour cards locked up through the Korn Ferry Tour regular season. There's still another 20 to be decided, and the priority order of all 30 of those cards will not be known until the final putt drops at the Korn Ferry Tour Championship presented by United Leasing and Finance, held at the French Lick Resort, French Lick, Indiana, on the acclaimed Pete Dye course. We have a great journey through these finals for you, 4 events to cover. We will have a Road to French Lick episode after each of those events. We will be live on tournament site for the Korn Ferry Tour Championship, and we can't wait to be there in just a short while to crown the 30 players who have PGA Tour cards for 2025. For everyone at Golf News Net, for everyone at the French Lick Resort, I'm Ryan Ballingy. Thank you so much for watching, and we'll see you next week.
It's been great, obviously.